Bosetti. I'm going to guide you through three main questions that I would like you to answer together with us, together with this group. Basically, the first question, well, everything that the topic is the one that we have been introducing this afternoon. So it's about how planning, transport planning is going to change according to your experience. And so the first question would be, what should be the priorities be for either the public sector, so the public authority is responsible for transport planning, or by the society, the communities, in terms of mobility and transport? And what are these priorities linked to? I mean, economic recovery, social inclusion, or limit environmental impacts? And of course, today we are focusing on this time of crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, but let's also look forward, look ahead. I mean, will these priorities be true, will be the same also after the COVID era? So I would like to hear from you, if possible. I see a few people here, and I would invite you to come to the floor and to tell us something about these priorities. To do that, I think you can ask to speak. Probably you have to click somewhere close to your name in the participant list. And as soon as you will do that, I can let you in and give you the floor.
Is consultancy on regulation, and especially on economic regulation. And I usually deal with public service contracts between the public authorities and the transport operators. So I'm on a different side, maybe, of planning, but I'm very interested in the relationships because I at present see a big divide between planning that it's coming to integration, active MAS and hands-on, and the regulation of the provision of public transport and other services, which is sectoral and old-fashioned. So in this perspective, I think that in the list you put on the screen, the environmental impacts and the social inclusion, I think will be the key topics for also after COVID. I think it's nothing will change except the need to accelerate the process.
Mm-hmm. And what about now? What about these times of disruptions, which are unfortunately not over yet? I mean, do you see what happened?
I think they opened the microphone to everybody, maybe.
Yeah, I would say, Ferdinando, if you can tell something about the current timing. I mean, what should be, in your view, the priorities now?
Now, I think that the priority should be to offer more opportunities to move instead of reducing these opportunities. So I think the priority in the perspective of economic recovery is to allow the people to continue in their professional and economic activities. So because the current times, on my opinion, accelerated the social exclusion and the economic decline. I think that we can deal with these problems with an improvement of transport. I appreciated a lot of the presentation from Athens, and I saw a very big difference between Athens and Italy, for example. In Italy, the policies were stay at home, everything, or use your own car. And while in Athens, they tried to give a fast response, improving the number of buses and the frequency of underground and metro services. I think that they had an economic extra need of resources, and they were able to find this. In Italy, we didn't succeed in this, so I think that economic recovery is the priority now.
Okay, thank you, Ferdinando. I don't know if some of the other participants want to add something about this first question, so about what you see are the priorities now, and will these priorities be true also on the day after, let's say? I see here some Costas or Lorenzo. Please, if you want to say something, please ask for permission so that they can let you in. Otherwise, we can start moving to the next question, which is what are the barriers for achieving these mobility and transport priorities? What can stop us from achieving our priorities?
Number one, I think the big barrier now, the biggest barrier is to provide enough financial means, I think. So if we wish to use the transport mobility as a way to overcome the COVID crisis, I think we need a lot of money. So I think it's the most important barrier.
Yes, of course, funding is an issue, and also particularly considering that, for instance, public transport is suffering because the less passenger you have, the less revenues you have, and the less resources you have to revert the situation.
Yes, I can add also that the cultural change is important, because from the Italian perspective, I saw that the newspapers and the opinion makers were not able to make the people understand that in some conditions to use public transport or to travel or to walk is safe. They were more involved in the attempt of explaining the risks. So it's not a good way to overcome the problem.
Yeah, that is true. And I'm afraid this it will need time to recover the situation, to change this, to make people get again the trust in to use public transport, for instance. And coming to the third and last questions, because I'm afraid that in a few minutes we have to come back to the plenary. I mean, of course, I mean, several cities started dealing with this emergency planning, so to put into field to put in place very quickly some sort of measures, and we have seen particularly related to active travel. I mean, pop-up bicycle lanes and these kind of measures. And so, I mean, considering the very difficult situation, I believe that we learned some lessons. I mean, we started experimenting something new, something different. So the question is, can we use this emergency planning to strengthen the transport planning process in the future? And how do we use the knowledge we have learned, I would add, to improve our chances of success in the future? I don't know if
I'm not able to answer this question, because I understood very well from the very interesting presentations we have before the relevant information that comes from such experiences, but I don't know how. I think that to use more of the technology is important for and it could be a key of success for a new mobility planning in the future, I think, because we are not used to to check on the smartphone to plan better, to understand better the available services. Now we learned something about this also as user.